You were not born average. Let that sink in. Somewhere deep inside, you know it's true. There's a fire in you, even if it's just a flicker right now. Maybe life has buried it under disappointment, fear, or years of playing small, but it's still there. You can feel it every time you lie awake at night, knowing you were meant for more. It's not arrogance, it's not fantasy, it's truth. You were not born to settle. Look around you. Society trains us to blend and follow the rules, get in line, don't make noise, don't rock the boat. Be realistic. They say fit in, conform from the time you were a child. They started shaping you into something manageable. They weren't trying to crush you on purpose. They were just passing down what they were taught. But here's the problem. What they called realistic was just a polite word for average. And average has become a prison. You see, average doesn't require effort. It doesn't demand growth. It doesn't stretch you or challenge you. It doesn't ask for your heart, your soul, your courage. Average is comfortable, but comfort is the enemy of greatness. And deep inside, something in you knows that staying comfortable too long starts to rot your spirit. That quiet unease you feel, that's not depression. That's your potential screaming for air. You weren't born to be like everyone else. You were born with unique gifts, instincts, a specific wiring that no one else on this planet has. Billions of people have walked this earth, and not one of them has your exact fingerprint, your exact voice, your exact combination of strengths and dreams. That's not an accident. That's a call, that's purpose knocking. But here's the truth: most people run from the life you were meant to live isn't guaranteed. It's available, yes, it's possible, but it's not automatic. You don't become extraordinary by accident. You don't just wake up one day transformed into the person you were meant to be. It takes intention, it takes decisions, it takes fire. You've got to want it, and wanting it isn't enough. You've got to demand it from yourself. You've got to stop negotiating with fear. Stop making excuses. Stop waiting for permission. The world isn't going to hand you your greatness wrapped in a bow. Life's not going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, it's your time now. You've got to claim it. You've arise and own your power, even if your voice shakes when you do it. Because the truth is, the person you were meant to be is already inside you. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about removing the layers of lies, fear, and limitation that life has dumped on you. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Before someone said you weren't smart enough, before you were told to be realistic, before you failed once and decided to stop trying underneath all that. There's power, there's clarity, there's purpose. And you know what separates the people who become that version of themselves from the ones who don't. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not having the right family or the perfect childhood. It's decision. It's hunger. It's a refusal to settle. It's waking up and saying, I don't care what happened yesterday. I'm showing up today. I'm not waiting for motivation. I'm creating momentum. I'm not going to let the opinions of people who've given up their own dreams define my future. You don't need someone to validate you. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a reason that pulls you, a reason that ignites something in you. And if you don't have it yet, you need to find it, dig for it, fight for it. Because once you do, the game changes. Life starts to respond to the energy you bring to it. You stop reacting and you start creating. You stop hiding and you start leading. You were not born average. You weren't designed to just survive. You were built to thrive. That quiet voice inside you isn't asking for attention. It's demanding action. It's daring you to wake up. It's daring you to stop pretending you're okay with mediocrity. It's daring you to stop playing the rules that were never meant for someone like you. Because deep down, pain is a signal, not a sentence. That truth alone can shift the direction of your entire life if you truly grasp it. See, we've been conditioned to believe that pain means something is wrong, that it's a punishment, that it's a permanent scar we'll carry forever. But pain isn't your enemy. It's not your curse. Pain is a messenger. It's a wake-up call. It's your life trying to get your attention. Think about it. When your body hurts, it's trying to protect you. You touch something hot, pain fires instantly to pull your hand away and stop the damage. That pain is a gift. It's feedback. It's information. Emotional pain works the same way. That heartbreak, that failure, that rejection, they weren't meant to define you. They were meant to refine you. Pain shows up to teach you, to toughen you, to wake you up to something deeper. But here's the trap: most people misinterpret the message. They experience pain and make it personal. They say, this always happens to me, or I guess I'm not enough, or maybe I'm just not meant to win. They start telling themselves a story, a disempowering, destructive story, that the pain is who they are, that it's permanent, that it's a life sentence, But that's a lie. The pain wasn't sent to imprison you. It was sent to inform you, to redirect you, to evolve you. The difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck is how they relate to pain. Some let it bury them, others let it build them. The pain didn't crush them, it called them. It pushed them into becoming more than they were. Every champion, every leader, every world changer has gone through moments that shattered them, but instead of breaking, they broke through, they asked better questions. They didn't say, why me? They said, what is this here to teach me? They turned the pain into fuel. You have that same power, but you've got to stop numbing it. That's what most people do. They run from pain, they distract, they medicate, they scroll, they shop, they drink, they binge, anything to not feel. But when you avoid pain, you also avoid growth. You miss the lesson. You miss the breakthrough. You've got to be willing to sit in it, to listen, to dig into it, not because you like suffering, but because you know that on the other side of it is wisdom, strength, and transformation. There's no strength without struggle. There's no resilience without resistance. Pain is not a stop sign. It's a signal that something needs your attention. Maybe it's time to let go of that toxic relationship. Maybe it's time to stop betraying yourself. Maybe it's time to rise above your past and stop letting it run your future. Whatever it is, the pain is trying to show you. Are you listening? Because pain that's ignored becomes suffering. Pain that's misunderstood becomes identity. But pain that's faced fully, honestly, courageously becomes power. When you stop avoiding it and start working with it, you begin to realize it's not there to break you. It's there to awaken you, to sharpen your edge, to show you what matters. People think they need a perfect plan to change their lives. What they really need is a reason strong enough to move. And nothing creates movement like pain. Nothing gets your attention faster. You can drift in comfort for years, but one moment of pain can wake you up like lightning. That's its gift. It doesn't whisper, it roars. It doesn't ask politely. It demands a shift. And you know what else? The deeper the pain, the deeper the purpose behind it. Life doesn't test people at random. It tests the ones who are capable of more, of caring more, of leading more. So if you've been through hell, maybe it's because you were being prepared to walk others out of theirs. If you've been broken, maybe you were being rebuilt stronger. If you've fallen, maybe it was so you could rise and show others how. But that only happens when you choose to see pain for what it is and not the end of your story, but the beginning of a new one, a better one written with grit, with heart, with purpose. You get to decide. You can drag the pain with you like a chain, or you can carry it like a torch. You can let it harden you, or you can let it forge you. One path leads to numbness, bitterness, and regret. The other leads to mastery, depth, and impact. Every time you've been knocked down, every betrayal, every loss, every lonely night, it all had something to give you. It wasn't meant to label you broken. It was meant to show you what you're made of. It was a mirror. It revealed your strength, your fight, your resilience. You're still here. You're still breathing. That means the pain didn't win. And as long as you're still standing, there's something left for you to become. Something bigger, bolder, and more powerful than what you've ever imagined. Identity is a choice, not a label. That's one of the most powerful realizations a human being can have. Because the moment you understand that, you stop living by default and start living by design. Most people walk around wearing identities they didn't choose, identities that were handed to them by parents, teachers, culture, trauma, or failure. Somewhere along the way, they accepted a label. I'm shy. I'm not a leader. I'm not smart enough. I'm just not that kind of person. And once that label sticks, it becomes a cage. But here's the truth. No one has the right to define you but you. Not your past, not your pain, not your mistakes, not your achievements, not even your personality test results. Identity isn't fixed, fluid, it's created. And it's created through the decisions you make every single day. Every choice you make is either reinforcing an old identity or building a new one. There's no in between. You are either becoming more of who you've been or more of who you can be. Look back at your life. How much of your identity was formed from survival? How much of it was a response to what happened to you instead of what you decided to create? Maybe you were told you had to be the strong one. Maybe you were labeled a failure. Maybe you became the overachiever to feel seen. Maybe you hid your voice because someone laughed at once. These identities were not chosen, they were copied. You inherited them without even realizing it. But what got you here doesn't have to take you forward. That version of you served a purpose, but it's not your destiny. You are not bound by your past identity unless you choose to keep wearing it. The real question is, Aishu, who are you committed to becoming? Because that's the decision that changes everything. The moment you say, this is who I am now, and back it up with action, everything begins to shift. Identity is shaped in moments. It's shaped when you choose courage over fear, when you speak up instead of shrinking, when you show up to the gym after breaking your promises for years, when you say no to something that doesn't align with who you want to be. Every one of those moments is a vote, and with enough votes, you build a new identity, not just in your mind, but in your being. But here's where most people get stuck. They think they have to feel like the new identity before they can live it. They say, well, I don't feel confident, or I don't feel like a leader. So they wait, but identity doesn't come from feeling, it comes from doing. You act your way into identity. You show up as the version of your becoming, even if your knees are shaking. And over time, your brain starts to believe it. You stop acting like it, and you start being it. Think of someone who transformed their life. Someone who lost 100 pounds, built a business from scratch, went from introverted to owning the stage. That didn't happen because they waited to feel like a new person. It happened because they made a decision, this is who I am now. And then they aligned their behavior with that identity until the world had no choice but to see them that way. That's the power of conscious identity. It's not fake, it's faith. You get to choose your identity every single day. You can choose to be a leader, even if no one's following you yet. You can choose to be disciplined, even if you've broken promises to yourself for years. You can choose to be confident, even if your inner critic is still screaming. It's not about waiting for external validation. It's about deciding who you are and acting in alignment with that decision, regardless of circumstance. And don't confuse your history with your destiny. Just because you've always been one way doesn't mean that's who you are. Habits are not identity. Patterns are not identity. Behavior is not identity, unless you decide it is. You can shift your entire life by shifting the identity that's driving the wheel. Because identity is the root. Change the root and the fruit changes automatically. So ask yourself, who do I need to become to live the life I was born for? Who do I need to be to create the impact I want, to love the way I want, to lead the way I dream of leading? That identity is already available to you. Not years from now, but right now. The only thing standing between you and that version of you is a decision. Not a miracle, not some perfect moment. A decision to choose power over passivity, creation over reaction, identity over labels. That's the difference between staying stuck and stepping into your future. That's where transformation begins. Environment is power. It's not just where you live or what you see. It's everything you immerse yourself in. It's the people around you, the conversations you allow, the energy you absorb, the standards you witness, the beliefs you're exposed to every single day. And whether you realize it or not, your environment is either pulling you forward or holding you back. There is no neutral ground. You're either in a place that is fueling your growth, or you're in a place that is silently suffocating your potential. Most people underestimate the power of environment because it's familiar. It's what they've always known, and what you live in consistently begins to feel like reality, even if it's toxic, even if it's limiting. If you grew up around people who believed life is a struggle, chances are you inherited that mindset. If you've been surrounded by mediocrity long enough, you begin to normalize it. You stop reaching for more. You stop believing more is possible. Not because you don't have the ability, but because you're surrounded by people who've accepted less as truth. The strongest force in the human psyche is the need to stay consistent with your identity, and your identity is deeply shaped by your surroundings. You adapt to fit the tribe. If everyone around you is broke, complaining, playing small, you'll start doing the same to belong. If everyone around you is healthy, driven, focused, thinking big, you'll rise just to keep up. You don't even have to try, it's human nature. That's the power of proximity. You rise or fall to the level of the environment you tolerate. If you want to change your life, you've got to start by changing what you allow into your world. Because transformation isn't just about mindset, it's about exposure. You can't build $1 million dream in a $10 environment. You can't think like a champion when you're surrounded by defeat. You can't lead when you're constantly being led by fear. Sometimes it's not that you lack motivation, it's that you're plugged into the wrong system. Think about the moments in your life when you felt unstoppable, when you were growing, when you were bold. Chances are you were in a different environment, one that challenged you, one that pushed you, one that reminded you of who you could be. Maybe it was a new job, a mastermind, a community of people who didn't just accept your dreams, but expected them. That was the power of a new environment triggering a new standard within you. And this applies to more than just people. Your environment is also your habits, your rituals, your digital feed, your workspace, your calendar. Everything around you is either reinforcing the future you want or dragging you back to the past you're trying to escape. If your home is filled with distractions, if your mornings are reactive, if your schedule is chaotic, you are swimming upstream every single day. That's not lack of discipline. That's a disempowering structure. You don't need more willpower. You need to design a world that makes your success automatic. Winners don't rise by accident. They create environments where winning becomes the default, where temptation is removed, where the standard is set high and consistently modeled, where growth isn't just encouraged, it's expected. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. And the system is built from the environment. So the real question is, what are you in right now? What have you allowed around you? Who are you letting speak into your life? What kind of energy are you breathing in every day? If your environment doesn't match the vision you have for your life, something has to change. And sometimes it means having uncomfortable conversations. It means outgrowing circles. It means letting go of relationships that feel familiar but keep you stuck. Not out of hate, out of love, for your purpose, for your growth, for your future. There is no breakthrough without boundaries. If your environment constantly drains you, distracts you, or doubts you, your potential becomes a prisoner. You were not born to stay stuck in someone else's comfort zone. You were born to build your own empire. And empires are not built in chaos. They're built in clarity. They're built in spaces designed to support your vision, not sabotage it. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do have to level up your proximity. Get around people who talk about ideas, not people. Get around people who invest in themselves, not just in entertainment. Get around people who light you up, not drain you. You become what you're around. You reflect what you absorb. Every minute spent in a low-vibe environment takes energy away from the life you could be building. So design your environment with the same intensity that you dream your goals. Make your space sacred. Make your routine powerful. Make your connections intentional, because your environment isn't just influencing you, it's shaping you. And if you're serious about becoming the person you were meant to be, then you have to get just as serious about the world you put yourself in. Standards shape destiny. That's not philosophy, that's reality. Your standards are the invisible force directing your life. They're the silent contracts you've made with yourself about what you will and will not tolerate. And whether you realize it or not, everything you have right now, your body, your relationships, your income, your fulfillment, it's a reflection of your standards, not your goals. People love to talk about goals. They set goals every new year. They write them down. They say them out loud. They even vision board them. But goals don't get you results. Standards do. Because standards are not wishes. Standards are musts. If you say, I want to be fit, but your standard is to hit the snooze button or to take out 4 times a week and go to the gym only when it's convenient, guess what? You're not getting fit. Not because you didn't want it, but because your standard didn't match your vision. On the other hand, someone else might have the exact same goal, but a different standard, one that says, I move my body daily, no matter what. I eat like someone who values health. I don't negotiate with my excuses. That person is going to get results, not because they're more motivated, but because their baseline is higher. Their identity is aligned with a different standard. We all get what we're willing to settle for, not what we dream about, not what we post online, what we demand from ourselves on a consistent basis. That's the difference between people who rise and people who repeat the same year over and over again. And most of the time, raising your standard doesn't require some giant leap. It requires a shift in what you accept. 1 degree of change in standard can change the entire direction of your life. But here's the truth, raising your standards isn't sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not easy, because it often means breaking up with the parts of you that have kept you safe. The part that says, just this once, or you've already done enough, or it's okay to settle here. Those voices aren't evil, they're comfortable. They're familiar. But comfort is the enemy of growth. And if you're serious about changing your destiny, you've got to get uncomfortable. You've got to start demanding more from yourself, especially when no one is watching. Standards show up in the smallest moments. How you do one thing is how you do everything. The way you speak to yourself in your head, the way you treat your space, the way you follow through on a promise. Those are all indicators of your standard. And the more you honor those micro standards, the more your macro results begin to change. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about holding yourself to a higher level even when you don't feel like it. You see it in the best of the best. Elite performers don't rise because they're lucky or gifted. They rise because they've set a standard most people won't. Not occasionally, always. It's non-negotiable. And here's the kickable. When your standard rises, your decisions get easier. You don't have to debate whether or not to show up. You don't waste energy negotiating with your lesser self. You simply act in alignment with the standard you've set. You become the type of person who does the hard thing, the necessary thing, the right thing, even when it's inconvenient. Your standard becomes your identity. And once your identity shifts, your actions follow. That's why real change doesn't start with strategy, it starts with identity. You can have the best game plan in the world, but if your standard is low, you'll sabotage it every time. Because deep down, we always return to what we believe we're worth. So if you want to change your results, you've got to elevate what you believe you deserve and what you're willing to require from yourself to get it. And let's be clear, standards are not about arrogance. They're about alignment. They're about deciding, this is who I am, this is how I live, and I refuse to go below that level, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you've made a decision to honor your potential, to stop living in reaction and start living in creation, to stop waiting for permission and start setting the pace. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they keep setting goals without changing their standard. They stay in environments, relationships, jobs, habits that don't match what they say they want. But life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you tolerate. Raise what you tolerate, and you raise everything. And once you raise your standard, you'll notice something else life will test you. It will throw resistance your way. People might question you, doubt you, try to pull you back to where it's safe. That's normal. Because when you raise your standard, you shine a light on what others have settled for. And not everyone is ready to see that. But that's not your job. Your job is to hold the line, to live the standard, to be the example. Because when you live from a place of elevated standards, you don't just change your results, you change your trajectory. Purpose is found through action, not through endless thinking, not the waiting for the perfect moment, not through sitting in a quiet room trying to decode some mystical calling from the universe. Clarity doesn't come before movement, it's born out of it. Most people sit on the sidelines of life waiting for a lightning bolt of certainty to strike them. They tell themselves, once I know what I'm meant to do, then I'll start. But that's not how purpose works. Purpose isn't discovered like a hidden treasure. It's developed through motion, through doing, through testing, through failing, through trying something, anything, and watching what awakens inside of you. You don't get purpose by waiting, you get it by building. It's forged in the fire of real experience. It's found in the middle of the mess, the unknown, the uncomfortable. Because when you take action, you get feedback, you get insight, you get momentum. You begin to uncover what lights you up, what drains you, what matters to you, not in theory, but in truth. The truth revealed only by doing. The truth that can't be accessed by thinking alone. Too many people are paralyzed by the fear of choosing the wrong thing. They're waiting for absolute certainty, perfect path. The one thing they were born to do. But purpose isn't a straight line, it's a winding road. And the only way to see what's around the corner is to take the next step. Your purpose isn't behind you. It's not in the rearview mirror. It's not buried in your childhood memories. It's not something you have to figure out before you live. It unfolds as you live. Think about the people who are living lives of deep purpose, the ones who light up a room, the ones who pour their energy into something that matters, the ones who seem aligned with a mission. They didn't start there. They didn't wake up one day with a perfect blueprint. They started somewhere, anywhere. They took a step. They tried something, and it probably wasn't the final thing, but it led to the next thing and the next, and eventually the fog started to lift. That's the secret. You move first and clarity follows. Purpose requires risk. It requires the courage to act before you feel ready, to explore without guarantees, to pursue something without knowing if it'll work out. That's the price of purpose. But the reward? A life that matters. A life that isn't just lived, but felt. A life where you wake up with a sense of direction, even on the hard days. Because when you're in motion, you're not just chasing something, you're becoming someone who refuses to let uncertainty become a cage. And yes, it's messy. Yes, you'll stumble. Yes, you'll have moments where you question everything. But those moments are part of the path. They're not signs you're failing. They're signs you're in it. You're playing the game instead of watching from the sidelines. Purpose isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it shows up as a tiny tug in your gut when you're doing something that makes time disappear. Sometimes it feels like peace in the middle of effort. You only find those signals when you're engaged with life, not hiding from it. Taking action doesn't mean having it all figured out. It means moving with what you have. using your current skills, exploring your current interests, serving where you can, helping who you can, learning as you go, and being open to letting go of what no longer fits as you evolve. Because as you grow, your purpose will grow too. What mattered to you 5 years ago may not matter now. That doesn't mean you were wrong. It means you've evolved. That's the point. There's no right first step. There's only your first step. And once you take it, you'll feel a shift. You'll feel the weight of stagnation begin to lift. You'll start to realize that it's not about finding the one perfect path. It's about creating a path that reflects who you are, what you care about, and what you're willing to fight for. And that creation begins with action. So many people think they need a perfect plan, but truth is plans change. Life changes. You don't need a plan. You need a pattern of movement, a pattern of showing up, a pattern of doing the hard things, the boring things, the uncertain things. Because in those things, you start to collect pieces of yourself, pieces that don't reveal themselves in comfort, but only in commitment, only in doing. I don't think purpose has to be big to be real. Purpose isn't always about changing the world. Sometimes it's about showing up for your family with love. Sometimes it's about building something meaningful in your corner of the world. Sometimes it's about creating beauty, sharing truth, lifting others, telling your story, or simply living in alignment with your highest values. But none of that happens if you stay still. None of it appears while you wait for certainty. You've got to move, you've got to do. You've got to get in the arena, muddy, messy, uncertain, and engaged. Because that's where purpose lies, not in the thinking, in the doing. Your future is demanding you to show up, not next week, not next year, now. Because whether you realize it or not, your future is being shaped by every choice you're making today. Every time you decide to push forward or pull back, every time you choose to lead or to shrink, every single moment is a vote cast for the life you'll be living 5, 10, 20 years from now. The future doesn't arrive as a surprise. It's built. It's constructed by the daily habits, the beliefs you reinforce, and the standards you hold yourself to when no one else is watching. You may think your future is somewhere far off, but it's not. It's here, knocking on your door. It's whispering in the back of your mind every time you say, I'll start tomorrow. Every time you choose comfort over growth, every time you ignore that inner nudge that says you were made for more. The truth is your future self is waiting, not passively, but impatiently, waiting for you to rise, waiting for you to stop postponing your potential, waiting for you to finally say, enough. I'm done living below the level I know I'm capable of. And you know exactly what that level is. You've tasted, you've glimpsed it in moments of clarity and strength. Maybe it was a season where you were focused, consistent, aligned with purpose. Maybe it was just a day or even a single hour, but you felt it. That's not a fantasy. That's a preview. That was the real you breaking through the noise of fear, distraction, and doubt. That version of you is not gone. It's not buried. It's waiting to be activated, but it won't come alive through thought. It comes alive through action, through showing up when it's hard, through doing the work even when the results aren't immediate, through choosing discipline over indulgence. Power over excuses. Your future isn't just a destination. It's a responsibility because there are people you're meant to impact, dreams you're meant to build, battles you're meant to win, and those things don't manifest by accident. They happen because you decided to take ownership of your life right now. You decided to become the person who doesn't just wish but works, who doesn't just plan but produces, who doesn't just dream but delivers. Too many people are living in reaction, reacting to what happened yesterday, reacting to how they feel in the moment, reacting to the opinions of people who don't even live with their consequences. But when you live in reaction, you hand over the pen. You give someone else the power to write your story. And every time you do that, your future dims a little more. But when you step into ownership, when you make the decision to become the author, the creator, the driver of your life, you ignite a force that reshapes everything. Because the moment you show up with intention, the future starts to bend in your favor. But showing up isn't always dramatic. It's often unglamorous. It looks like waking up early when your body wants sleep. It looks like staying focused when distractions are pulling at you from every direction. It looks like pushing through discomfort, uncertainty, and boredom to build something meaningful. It's in the repetition, the grind, the effort that no one claps for. That's where futures are built. That's where legacies are born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the work you do when no one's cheering. You may not see the results right away, and that's okay. Growth is rarely visible in the moment. It's like planting a seed. You water it, you nurture it, and for a while it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are growing, foundations are being formed, and if you keep showing up, eventually something breaks through. And what breaks through is not just a result, it's you transformed, you stronger, you more certain, you stepping into the future that once felt out of reach. This is not about being perfect, it's about being committed, it's about making a choice again and again to align your daily actions with the life you say you want. It's about refusing to let fear, laziness, or external noise dictate your direction. Your future needs you focused. Your future needs you bold. Your future needs you relentless. Because the cost of not showing up isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a missed life, a version of you that never fully came to life because you allowed the world to distract you, discourage you, or delay you. You already know what needs to be done. You don't need another motivational quote. You don't need more information to act. You need to move. You need to trust that every step forward, no matter how small, is building something bigger, something that your future self will thank you for. You may not feel ready. You may not have all the answers, but readiness is a myth. The power is in the decision to show up as if your life depends on it, because it does. Every day you wait, the gap between who you are and who you could be grows wider. But every day you choose to show up, that gap begins to close. And one day you look up and realize you're living in the future you once only imagined. Everything we've talked about leads to one undeniable truth. You were not born to live a life of mediocrity. You were born with power, with potential, and with purpose. But that future version of you, the one that lives a life of meaning, impact, and fulfillment, won't magically appear. It has to be built brick by brick, moment by moment, decision by decision. You've got to raise your standards so high that they pull you forward. Even when the world tries to drag you back, you've got to turn your pain into fuel, not a prison. You've got to reject the identity that was handed to you and create one that reflects who you truly are. You've got to surround yourself with people, environments, and habits that demand more from you, not less. And you've got to stop waiting for clarity or permission and start moving, because movement is where purpose is born. Purpose doesn't come to the passive, it finds the ones who are in motion, who are messy, who are bold enough to try, because your future, the real one, is watching. It's not asking you to be perfect, it's asking you to show up fully with everything you've got every single day. So don't shrink, don't hesitate, and don't let this life pass you by while you sit on the sidelines wondering what could have been. Step into who you were meant to be, and don't look back. Thank you for watching. Thank you for showing up for yourself. And remember, the best of you is still ahead.